There is a quiet battle being fought in homes and offices across the United Kingdom. It is the struggle of Muslim fathers who yearn to be present, active and loving parents in their children's lives. These men find themselves standing on the outside, looking in, often pushed aside by a social services system that seems not to see them. Their desire to co-parent, to attend school meetings, and to share in the simple joys of fatherhood is frequently overlooked. This exclusion becomes especially sharp when the child's mother is white British, creating a cultural divide that authorities often fail to navigate with the sensitivity and care that is required. These fathers are not asking for special treatment, but simply for the chance to be seen for who they are, dedicated parents who love their children deeply. The pain of this exclusion is magnified by the sting of prejudice, harmful stereotypes about Muslim men, portraying them as controlling, aggressive, or culturally rigid, often cloud the judgment of professionals who are supposed to remain impartial. Instead of being assessed on their individual actions and their demonstrated commitment to their children, these fathers feel they are judged based on a caricature. They enter meetings already at a disadvantage, their every word and action viewed through a lens of suspicion. This is not just an administrative hurdle, it is a deeply personal wound. The system, designed to protect children, inadvertently creates a narrative where the Muslim father is presumed to be a risk until proven otherwise, a burden that is both unfair and exhausting to carry. This sense of being prejudged has a profound emotional impact. It breeds a feeling of isolation and frustration as fathers see their parental rights slowly eroded without a fair hearing. They speak of a creeping hopelessness, a sense of powerlessness against a bureaucratic machine that seems to have already made up its mind. Imagine the agony of knowing your child is just a few miles away, yet feeling as though they are on another continent because the very people meant to facilitate family connection are instead building walls. This emotional toll is immense, affecting not just the father's mental health, but also his ability to fight effectively for his child, creating a vicious cycle of despair and disenfranchisement. The journey for these fathers is a lonely one, filled with moments of profound sadness and injustice. They are often left to navigate a complex and intimidating system with little support or guidance, their voices drowned out by preconceived notions and systemic bias. They watch as decisions are made about their children's futures without their meaningful input, their love and concern deemed irrelevant in the face of cultural stereotypes. The fight is not just about legal rights, it is about the fundamental human need to parent, to nurture and to maintain a bond that should be protected, not systematically dismantled by the very institutions tasked with safeguarding family welfare. The feeling of being trapped is made worse when police and social services work together. For many Muslim fathers, this collaboration does not feel like a system ensuring safety. It feels like an alliance formed against them. A minor disagreement or a simple misunderstanding can escalate quickly, with a call to the police leading almost automatically to a social services referral. This process often lacks nuance, treating every incident with a heavy-handed response that presumes guilt. The father finds himself caught between two powerful institutions, each one reinforcing the other's suspicions. He is no longer just a parent trying to resolve a family issue. He becomes a case file, a subject of investigation, and a potential threat in the eyes of the state. This coordinated approach can leave fathers feeling utterly powerless. They are often interviewed in a way that feels more like an interrogation than a conversation. Their cultural background, their faith, and even their tone of voice can be misinterpreted as signs of aggression or an unwillingness to cooperate. The system is designed to identify risk, but its tools can be blunt and culturally unaware. As a result, fathers who are genuinely trying to protect their relationship with their children are treated with the same level of suspicion as those who pose a real danger. This lack of distinction is where the injustice lies, creating an environment where a father's every move is scrutinized and his intentions are constantly questioned. The tragic case of Sarah Sharif, whose father Irfan Sharif was convicted of her murder, casts a long and complex shadow. While his horrific actions represent an absolute failure of parental duty, Such high-profile cases can unintentionally reinforce negative stereotypes that affect countless innocent fathers. The system, reeling from its failure to protect Sarah despite numerous warning signs, may become even more risk-averse. This can lead to professionals making defensive decisions, where a Muslim father in a dispute is viewed through the lens of worst-case scenarios. The challenge for the system is to learn from its failures without letting those tragedies justify a blanket suspicion that harms loving fathers and their children. This environment of heightened alert creates a chilling effect. Fathers become afraid to show emotion, fearing that passion will be misread as anger or that frustration will be seen as aggression. They learn to be guarded, to choose their words carefully, and to suppress their own pain for fear of making their situation worse. They are forced to perform a role, the calm, compliant, and unthreatening subject, rather than being allowed to be a grieving, concerned, or passionate parent. This dynamic strips away their humanity and turns a deeply personal family struggle into a cold, procedural ordeal where the father's true self is never seen and his voice is never truly heard. When these family disputes enter the courtroom, the hope for a fair resolution often fades. The family court system, already under immense pressure, can struggle to see beyond the initial reports from social services. Vital details about a father's long-standing positive involvement in his child's life can be overlooked. A history of attending parent-teacher conferences, coaching a football team, or simply being the one to read bedtime stories can be dismissed in favor of a single contested narrative presented by the other parent and reinforced by social workers. The court's decision, intended to bring stability, can end up cementing an injustice and formally severing a bond that is crucial for a child's well-being. These judicial outcomes can have devastating and long-lasting consequences. A court order that limits contact based on unsubstantiated fears or cultural biases does more than just hurt the father, it harms the child. Children are deprived of a loving parent, and they may internalize the message that their father is someone to be feared or avoided. This judicial severing of ties can create a void in a child's life, leading to emotional and psychological difficulties down the road. The father, meanwhile, is left with a legal judgment that invalidates his role as a parent, a painful verdict that follows him for years and makes it nearly impossible to repair the fractured relationship with his child. The complexity of these situations is immense, and courts do not always get it right. Sometimes, as seen in a 2025 case, a judge might reverse a previous position and place children with a father formerly accused of abuse, acknowledging that he is the better option compared to the alternative. However, such cases are not always the norm. More often, the initial narrative sticks. The system's difficulty in assessing risk accurately means that decisions can feel arbitrary. One father is vindicated, while another, in a similar situation, is condemned. This inconsistency shows that the system is not just failing individuals, but is struggling with a deeper systemic problem of how to assess family dynamics fairly, especially across cultural and religious lines. The court's final word can feel like the closing of a door, a definitive end to a father's hopes of being an active parent. The legal language of the judgment may be cold and procedural, but for the father, it is a deeply personal rejection. It is a formal declaration that his love, his efforts, and his presence are not valued. For the child, it is the loss of half of their heritage, half of their identity, and a parent who wants nothing more than to be in their life. The echoes of that courtroom decision will reverberate through their lives for years to come, a constant and painful reminder of a system that failed to see the full picture. The silent struggles of these Muslim fathers are not isolated incidents. They are symptoms of a wider cultural problem within the UK's child welfare systems. The issue is a deep-seated bias, often unconscious, that affects how professionals perceive and interact with families from different ethnic and religious backgrounds. True justice for children cannot be achieved until we acknowledge and actively dismantle these prejudices. The path forward requires more than just updated policies. It demands a fundamental shift in mindset. It requires us to move away from a culture of suspicion and toward one of genuine curiosity and respect. Every family has a unique story, and it is the system's duty to listen to it with an open heart and an open mind. To bring about this change, we must begin with education and training. Social workers, police officers, and family court judges need comprehensive, ongoing training in cultural competency. This is not about ticking a diversity box. It is about providing them with the real-world tools to understand the nuances of different family structures, communication styles, and religious practices. They must learn to distinguish between genuine risk and cultural difference, and to recognize how their own biases might influence their assessments. This training should be immersive and challenging, forcing professionals to confront uncomfortable truths and emerge with a greater capacity for empathy and impartial judgment. Furthermore, we need to create a more transparent and accountable system. Fathers who feel they have been treated unfairly must have access to a clear and effective process for raising grievances, one that is independent and takes their concerns seriously. There should be greater scrutiny of how decisions are made, particularly in cases involving mixed heritage families. Collecting and publishing data on the outcomes for fathers from minority backgrounds could help identify patterns of discrimination and hold the system accountable for improving its practices. Transparency is the first step toward rebuilding the trust that has been so profoundly broken for so many families. Ultimately, the goal must be to champion a system that is compassionate, fair, and child-centered in the truest sense. A child-centered approach means recognizing that, in most cases, a child's well-being is best served by maintaining a strong and healthy relationship with both parents. It means listening not just to the loudest voice in the room, but to every parent's voice. It is a call for everyone involved, from the frontline social worker to the high court judge, to look beyond the stereotypes and see the individual. By treating each family with the dignity, understanding, and fairness they deserve, we can ensure that all fathers have the chance to be the loving, present parents their children need them to be.